Sport Fishing on the Fly is brought to you by Maui Jim Sunglasses. First Tellurium Corp., the future of mining. And Hardy Rods and Reels. Today on the bench, I want to tell you what my personal favorite Damselfly nymph, it is Malcolm's Damsel. This is by far the best damsel nymph I've ever used. Make sure you have these materials ready before you tie the fly. For the hook, we'll use a size 16 2x long curved, some 8/0 olive thread to tie with, a 7/64 inch gold bead as the bead, some moss green Flashabou for the tail, some olive crystal flash for the tail highlight, some small green holographic tinsel for the body, a small olive or dark olive saddle for the hackle, and some fine copper wire for the rib. So to start the fly off, I've put the bead onto the hook and moved it up front, and we'll just put on a base layer of thread just to get it started and cut off your excess. And you know, the first move is to put on our tail. So I've taken my moss green Marabou and I'm just going to move it down a little bit, probably halfway the hook, just to establish some thread on the tail. Now I'm just going to pull off, it depends, I like a smaller tail. I'm just going to only pull off, 10 of these fibers and just pull them all back. And I like a smaller tail, so about as long, again, as your hook shank. And just tie it in. And pretty standard for a tail. I always like to go around the back of the tail and then wrap up front. And these fibers you can snip and get rid of your excess. And just wrap over anything left over the body. That's all going to be wrapped in regardless, so not to worry. So now you got your tail tied in. Now take, you can have 1 or 2 crystal flash. What I'll do is I'll actually take 1 piece of crystal flash, wrap it over together once, just cut it. So then I've got 2 pieces. Bring those 2 pieces up over your thread and then wrap it in evenly on the tail. On both sides, then you'll have like two highlights on one side and 2 on the other. And then cut them the length of the tail. Now that we have the tail tied in, I'm going to take some of my holographic green tinsel. We're just going to tie it in just back by the eyelet and move it all the way back. And this is going to be tied up for the body a little bit later. Finish off at the tail and just put that away. Move your thread back up towards the bead, and then we're going to tie in our copper wire for the rib. Now take a piece of your copper wire and just tie it in again near the bead and just wrap it up through the body. This will be tied up a little later to form the rib. Now we're going to move our thread back towards the bead and we're going to tie up our body. So pull up that holographic tinsel you had and just start wrapping forward to form the body on the fly. All the way up nice and evenly until you get to the bead. And then tie off behind the bead. And cut off your excess. Now to make this fly a little more durable, you can take some UV coating or, I've got Loctite or some kind of head cement. Just coat the body. Just put 1 dab on there. And just take a bodkin and move it around so that you can, get that coating all over. And this will help when you wrap in the hackle. It'll help the hackle last longer on the fly. So I just coat that body up first. So now that I've got some cement on there, we're going to take a hackle, nice fine hackle. This is a size 18 saddle. we're going to tie it up near the head, wrap it in good, and then palmer it back. Take a couple of wraps by the head, and then I like to palmer it back and take about 4 to 5 wraps back till I get to the tail. Then once I'm at the tail, I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to pull this wire over the hackle just to tie it in. And then wind your copper wire up to form the rib on the fly. And this will help maintain the hackle so it doesn't fall apart. And right up to behind the bead. And then tie off right at the bead. And again, just 360. We'll get rid of your wire. And then what I like to do is you can do the same with your hackle, or you can give it a quick snip just to get rid of your extra. And then you have a nice fluid body. To finish the fly off, I would like to keep the hackle on the front just slightly pointed back. So all I'm going to do, again, whip finish a couple times, and that'll help flare that front hackle back just slightly. A few more wraps, and that pretty well does it. And if you want to head cement, you can, but I prefer not to. Cut your thread off. So there it is, Malcolm's Damsel. Now it is now my personal favorite. I used to love Brian's baby damsel, still one of my favorites, but this fly has been so effective over the past 2 years for us, it's now my favorite. So make sure you have some in your fly box. They are worth having.